I paid for her degree, raised our kids, worked 2 jobs and put my dreams on hold, then she told me I don't do anything. What I did after Father's Day left everyone in shock. I, M43, try to do my best to provide for my wife, F38, and 2 kids, 3, 5, as well as my MIL and would like to think I am doing a decent job. Over the years, I worked to improve our family's living situation. Not only did I complete another bachelor's and recently master's in a STEM-related degree, I at the same time worked 2 full-time jobs, while completing my second bachelor's, and put my wife through school as well. She completed a degree where she could make good money, 60-70K/year, in a healthcare field that always has jobs available. But with the birth of our 2 kids, she has since gave up on her career to be a SOM for the time being. At first it was a struggle while I was finishing up my master's. Once I completed it, after our youngest turned 3 my career took a jump up and we are now able to afford our single-income household in a more feasible manner. We're far from rich but do okay for a single-income family of 4, a little north of 150K base plus bonuses. The past year life was overwhelming for my wife, so even though I now work 75% from home, I budgeted to hire a daytime nanny to help her around the house with 1 child while the other is in school now. My day starts every day around 5:30-6 am. I get the house ready for the day before the nanny comes at 8 am, I get our oldest up and ready for school, breakfast made, and plan out my day, bring our oldest to drop off, and be home in time to let the nanny in. My most recent task at work has me grounded for the next 2 months, meaning I am now 100% WFH. While this is nice, I am busy in meetings all day as my role manages teams on a global scale as I oversee projects from my industry. For the past 1.5 months, I realized, my wife, as much as she says her life is stressful at home, starts at 10 am. I asked my MIL and nanny if this was always the case after a week or so of WFH, and they both responded more or less, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. My wife literally wakes up and cooks and then scrolls through her phone or shops from home, which brings me to my gripe. I am glad I am able to provide her that sort of life since we both grew up lacking in means. I get the possibility of postpartum depression, the stress of having kids, the feeling of being unfulfilled, the fact that I probably am a shitty husband, but for what it's worth, everything is taken care of and then some. I manage the house's finances. She claimed she was too busy to do so, pay all the household bills, I pay my own personal bills, I pay her bills, track and perform all the upkeep of our house appliances/cars/pets/ etc., and I also help pay for my MIL's medical bills and car note. But apparently my life is on easy street compared to hers. I can't decompress to her because it seems like she always feels the need to one-up me. I had a bad day, but she had it worse cause I'm lucky I got to go away and work. My feet hurt from walking all day during work travel, which is nothing compared to her standing and cooking with a child clinging to her. For the past 2 or so years, I've been told I ruined her life, her opportunities, etc., but when I reminded her of what she says, she denies and dodges accountability. My MIL has brought me aside and stated she's noticed a change in both myself and my wife. I have a greater attachment to my kids and hell, I've hugged the dogs and talked to them more about my life than to my wife. I honestly feel like I am in emotional survival mode as I'm 1 step from moving up the career ladder and 1 step away from finding love and comfort from the bottom of a whiskey bottle. I'm sure I'll be hearing from the manly men of Reddit about how I'm simping, but I'm not a machine. I just want to know and feel that someone I prioritize aside from my kids appreciates and loves me for what I do. I'm sure I'll hear from the stay-at-home moms of Reddit, which is fine. I grew up in a single-parent/mother household. It's not easy, and honestly with the help of her mother and a nanny Monday through Friday, for 1 toddler while another child is at school. Can you honestly tell me she's having the typical SOM experience? Because neither my friends or colleagues who are single parents can say she is. I'm sure the masses of holier-than-thou Redditors will consider this a poorly written fanfic, but it is what it is. TLDR, long story short, it feels as if my wife has checked out of our marriage. We're only roommates where she can still reap the marriage benefits. I'm not asking for her to throw herself at me all the time and let me do whatever I want. I really just want to be told I'm doing good and just offer me some form of emotional comfort as simple as a hug, but I guess as the man who ruined her life, I deserve it. Thank you for the replies. To add more context, never cheated. I do work in an industry that has a large female population, but I'm literally an open book with work, name colleagues and staff under me. She has access to my work agendas and correspondence if she really wanted to snoop, but on that note she still doesn't know what exactly I do for a living at this time. We as whole family, her parents and mine, have tried to get her to go to therapy but she refuses or skirts around the issue. Aside from my coming from a single mother household purse, my biological dad was present in my life. She has had both parents in a reportedly monogamous marriage for over 40 years. I have tried to talk to her about everything and my own feelings, but again, one-upmanship tends to be the trend here. What I am getting out of the marriage was asked. Now, aside from my 2 beautiful kids, I've been asking myself that same question. We have a near non-existent sex life mainly since last year. I always figured maybe it's part of depression or whatever she may be going through, maybe I'm just not attractive enough or just horrible in bed because of my health conditions. I'm not some supermodel husband, but temptation and opportunity does knock and I can perform still, but I never give in, because as cliche as it sounds, I honestly do love my wife and want to only be with her. I'll give credit where credit is due, as I don't want to sound biased. When I say she wakes up and cooks, she cooks for everyone in the house. Myself, kids, MIL, and even nanny. Aside from breakfast, she cooks all meals and snacks. I typically fast until lunchtime, and our oldest tends to eat a small simple breakfast in case they don't like what school serves that morning. She does load both the kids and her laundry, but seldomly folds and puts them up. I typically do my own, and the rest of my clothes I dry clean because they're work clothes. She does keep track of our pantry and fridge, but after she makes the list, I'm the one who goes out and buys everything if not delivered. She does clean our bathrooms and house 50% of the time, the other 50% is done by either MIL or myself, or sometime nanny if she feels like being extra helpful. Prior to nanny, my MIL was the main help for my wife up until she had unexpected medical needs. So I opted to hire a nanny to help them both, more so when MIL is having treatments and recovering. Update: not sure if anyone would read this, but thank you for those who have reached out and chit-chatted. While I know I've kept my newfound friends here updated, I figured I'd just update my post and keep it short. I showed my wife my post the following weekend and she read it and all the comments. Long story short, argument, she left our house to stay with her sister, and I've been a single parent since. It's sad to say, aside from the good nights to our kids, it's all pretty much the same routine. Nothing much else to say other than thank you for all the kind words of encouragement. This post got bigger than I expected from a venting post, but I've responded to a few comments. Nonetheless, thank you for the comments and DMs, and more so for the offers to let me ruin your life, ha. It's been the highlight of my day/night as I sit here drinking with my dog while everyone else is asleep. It feels depressingly sad that I feel that I have to turn to random internet strangers for some sort of validation in my rant. My apologies in advance as I try to keep this as vague as possible. Update: I just wanted to update those who have been kind enough to check up via DM and comments. Apologies in advance for the lengthy post. It's a bit of irony and coincidence that I made a follow-up from the update on May 6, 2024 I made on my original post during Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, but I could really use another outlet outside of my therapist. My apologies if this isn't the storybook ending/destroying of a relationship people were hoping for. To save you a read. Wife left. Came back like nothing happened. She made it about her. Nothing's changed. I'm continuing to be suffering mentally, knowing nothing will change while trying to keep it together for our kids. Lots of takeout. The day after she packed up and left, my wife attempted to come back and take the kids with her to her sister's. Naturally, I was against this, and thankfully so was her whole family, including said sister. Not only was it not fair to our kids for her to sweep them away into a home that's not theirs, but to put that financial and housing stress on the rest of her family, since she doesn't work and her sister and her family, husband and 3 kids, stays with their dad in the house they grew up in. After a little over a week of being away, I guess she cooled off, so she just decided that it would be fine if she walked in the door with her bags as if she just came back from Target. She came into my office while I was working and angrily stared at me while I sat on a conference call meeting with my team, and I couldn't just jump off as this is a busy time of the quarter for us. I guess that didn't sit well with her, because once I took off my headset and closed my laptop, she started yelling at me about how much I really don't care about her and her well-being overall. At that moment I couldn't do anything more than look at her and just shake my head. Mother-in-law came in after hearing my wife yelling and pulled her away, telling her to not bother me, while our nanny kept our youngest away from it all on the other side of the house. That night after the kids were put to bed, I sat in my office by myself with a drink, as I have been doing for the past nights, and my wife came in. We talked. We argued. We cried. We drank. One thing led to another and we were in bed. I wish I could say that was our making up, but the next sobering morning as we laid there, she went on about how hard it was for her the time she was gone. Literally, it was about her struggle staying at her family house in her old room with her dad and sister's family. How lucky I am to be able to stay here and do this and that and buy this or do that and not stress as much as they did. How easy my and everyone else's in our family lives are compared to hers, even though we had similar upbringings. My mind and heart broke that morning. I've been spiraling down since then, and this last week I made another attempt to reconcile and talk things out, but I was met with a shouting match while trying to express my current stress and anxieties with life and work in general. Wife: well, do you know how hard this is all for me? You're supposed to help me be happy. Me: so when it comes to my happiness, stress, needs, and overall well-being, FK me, get over it, right? Wife: we all have our own problems, you need to figure it out and get over them. I don't know who the woman I am at home with is, but that wasn't the woman I married and vowed to spend my life with and raise our kids together. Since that conversation, I've been noticeably distant with her. I've been sleeping in my office or on the couch or with my kids in their bed after putting either one of them to sleep. Still doesn't change her starting her day at 10 a.m. and sitting on her phone talking to her mom groups between cooking meals with the kids in both mother-in-law and nanny's care. Nothing has changed, and I doubt that anything will change. Sadly, I think even if we got a divorce, nothing would change or feel different anyway, since during my wife's leaving the days seemed like any other day except with a little more takeout than usual. My main fear there isn't that I wouldn't just lose my wife, I'd lose my kids in the process. So I guess it's sad to say the grand finale to my story with, like a lot of men and some women I've talked to here, I'll just continue to smile and suffer in silence. First off, thank you for all the comments and DMs, some context and clarification, since admittingly my post was emotionally charged since I typed it up after another argument. Post-birth, our kids' pediatrician's office gave my wife those postpartum depression screening forms, and during the time of both she scored pretty high and was suggested to see a therapist. With our second child she scored significantly higher, and I should say I made an effort to get her the help she needs. She refused, so entered mother-in-law and nanny for support. I know what people will say/think, but this is one of the reasons I am not 100% ready to just give up and file our life together away. Also, I know silently suffering in the near and long run of our kids' future will not add to a healthy atmosphere, but neither would a bitter and hate-filled divorce. I know some have compared it to the ripping off a bandage, saying it'll hurt at first but that pain goes away, but I'd rather try to spare my kids thinking that their parents ended up hating each other because of them or something along those lines. I've told a few PPL I talked to in DM since my last post, a little more insight on my personal life. Prior to my promotion I was a PM managing teams and budgets, so out of habit I plan for a lot of what-ifs. That being said, I made a number of contingency plans if sadly things went south. So, yes, I have talked to a lawyer, 3 actually. Know our rights and what each of us are entitled to. Have a draft settlement created and on hold until I feel I need to use it. I know what I want and am willing to offer more than what is fair for our kids' well-being, but also have a plan if we end up going to court. It's 100% on me that I'm suffering in silence, but I'm too stubborn to just give up, so while I am venting, I don't expect anyone to feel sorry for me. I endure it to keep the norm our kids know, ensure my MIL's treatments go uninterrupted, and of course the hope my wife would finally be open to give therapy a shot and climb together to a better place. Thank you all again. New update: first and foremost TLDR, I'm done. Wife said I don't do and am not shit in front of the therapist and family Father's Day dinner. She got served. She mad. She is trying to act perfect and I'm just waiting while taking care of my family, kids, my mom, and MIL. Oh well, I'll just ruin everyone else's life too in my family. Secondly, to clear some confusion. I did not get 2 bachelors and a master's while working 2 jobs at the same time as some readers are assuming. Bachelor's number 1 graduated in the early 2000s. Bachelor's number 2 via online years, 2 classes a semester, later while working 2 full-time jobs, job number 1 hospital 36/48 schedule, job number 2 big box store 32 to 40 hours spread out 7 days a week, to pay for both my and my wife's tuition because she decided to go back to school before we had kids. After graduating from bachelor's number 2 and entering the industry I am in now, I was able to work 1 job and get my master's. So no, I did not get 3 degrees at the same time or in that close succession. And I am surprised that I actually have to spell this out, as someone working 2 jobs while going to school isn't that uncommon, or at least that's what I thought. My wife chooses not to work. She does technically have a job. She just barely works it to the point we forget she has a job, as in she worked one day 4 to 5 months ago for 8 hours on a Tuesday, kind of barely works. Her job and manager is really supportive, flex PRN model, and gives her a list of days they need coverage and she can choose to pick up a shift or not. While she can work more and only does just enough to keep up her license, she complains to our family of her career being on hold for one reason or the other, although she has the opportunity to work more if she opted to. All things considered, she has an available supportive circle around her for either decision she falls on. Our family, her job, and I have made multiple offers and taken many steps to open that door for her to go back to work, i.e. nanny, MIL moved in to help, I work from home, her crazy flex PRN schedule, etc., etc., but here we are. I am and have been in therapy for myself already. Aside from what I deal with at home, my work can be very debilitating in regard to my mental health as well as physical at times. Since I can't find the support I need mentally and physically at home with my wife, I've opted to attend therapy rather than find comfort with someone outside of the home or at the bottom of a bottle. I've tried to express this to my wife, and as mentioned in my previous post, she has a habit of one-upping me, and here we are. My in-laws are still married. Given the circumstances in our home, my MIL moved in to help out my wife, while my SIL and her family moved back into their parents' house due to their own reasons. SIL and her family can save money while getting back on their feet, and my wife and I benefit from MIL's help, and we can keep a closer eye on her while she undergoes bi-monthly treatments. My wife, by means of questionnaires, is highly suspected to have PPD alongside with a history of symptomatic OCD, ADHD, amongst other ailments that over the years she refused to get evaluated for or refused to accept results given. I knew what I was getting into, and I love and accepted my wife for these flaws as she did mine at the time. Spare me your "I don't feel sorry for you" or pity. I am like every other man who fell in love and wanted to give my person the best of me and the world I can offer, but again, here we are. There's a lot of manly men/Red Pill Nation guys out there complaining and saying I'm simping over my wife. While I respect your own opinions and perspectives, I will outright say, if this situation was only affecting my life, I would have left a long time ago. As one Redditor said in a past comment that stuck to me, I am the kind of person that will take a bullet for his kids. Maybe it's in a different context intended, but to protect my children from any harm physically or mentally. I'll take the proverbial bullet if and as needed. I'd like to think other dads out there would respond to the duty to protect their children, and that's why I endured as much as I have. For the time being, I would rather my wife use me as an outlet for whatever her problems were versus our kids. Thank you all for the comments and reaching out. I've met many strangers who have become great Reddit pen pals, and some who have been in the know of every step that has been progressing to this point. I am surprised at how far this has gone, from other subreddits, other platforms, and even YouTube. Love me, hate me, say it's all fake, no matter where you stand, thank you for all the constructive comments and DMs to check in. Our kids and myself are going to be alright moving forward. Now for the update. The end of an era. This will be shorter than some expected, as really there's not much to say but just satiate the questions some of you may have had and give people the satisfaction of the "I told you so" moment on Reddit. After a hard push from our family via an intervention, my wife and I finally attempted to go to marriage counseling. I'm sure many of you can guess how well that went. Blame, tears, regrets, gaslighting, with a side of "I am the reason for her life being ruined and horrible." Again. Just this time in front of a licensed therapist instead of Reddit or mom groups. In the end, everything the therapist suggested and noted went over her head and ignored as it was against the grain of her status quo. One thing I guess worth saying was the therapist asked if she could recall when she last truly felt happy. Her response was about 12 or so years ago. Please note, 12 years ago she was still in her 20s. Childless. Living with her ex. A vastly different time and position in life. I know it's petty of me, but I guess if that's when she was last happy, it wouldn't be that far of a stretch for her to find that happiness again, since her ex is in the same apartment, job, and place in life that he was 12 years ago. Which is fine, if that's how you want to live life. I try not to judge, but in my 40s with kids, going clubbing 3 to 4 days a week is not my jam anymore. And of course, I don't want my kids around a mom and company who drowns themselves in White Claws. To add, I know some will ask, I know and can confirm she hasn't physically cheated on me but can't confirm if she did emotionally, if that's the right term. After said therapy session I checked all her phone records and didn't see anything out of the ordinary, but I also didn't bother to check apps like IG or Snapchat. I know I'm probably boring, but shout out to all the Costco dads whose Sunday Funday includes making rounds with kids for samples. The following weekend was Father's Day, and this year as expected not that big of a celebration as it is for many dads out there. Our family got together to celebrate with a barbecue and just simple family time, and my wife treated it like any other day. Sleep in. Get up. Cook. Phone. Shop. Attempt to play with kids. Phone. During said family barbecue my wife said she felt ill, so she sat around most of the day while the rest of the family as a whole made the experience enjoyable. When everything was set up and the family all sat at the table, her parents and sister's family, my mother, our kids, admittingly it was a great spread, nothing extravagant but just a great meal for everyone. I was conversing with my brother-in-law about both of our kids' school Father's Day activities, and I assume my wife overheard when I mentioned that it was a little sad to see some kids sit alone without their fathers during the breakfast with dad event I attended. She blurted out with a laugh loud enough for the whole room to hear, "It's not like you do anything anyway." I could have gone instead. At that moment I was red and at a loss for words, sitting there processing what she said in my head, while the dining room went dead silent. My MIL broke the awkwardness and in response said, "Well, maybe if you feel that way, one of you should divorce the other." My wife looked at my MIL confused that she would respond with that and laughed mockingly in my direction and with her hand pointing at me said, "As if another woman would want a man like him? Just look at you," while the room sat silent. I was angry, heartbroken, confused, and embarrassed all at the same time. In manly man fashion, I just nodded my head in silence, stood up, and picked up my keys and got in my truck and drove off to get a drink while trying to ignore the cries of the rest of the family and our kids telling me to stay. I don't know what was said or done while I was out of the house the rest of Sunday, because I couldn't bring myself to check our house cameras, but when I returned early Monday morning, the house had a completely different feel. As usual, I woke up around 6, got the house and our oldest ready for school drop-off. Checked emails. Checked messages, nothing out of the ordinary. As I was getting dressed to leave, my wife laid in our bed snoring lightly. All I could do was look at her and think of what we had, and now lost. I've decided. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I texted my lawyer that morning to move forward with serving her. Fast forward to last week, she was served at our home, reminder to people I had no choice but to be there because I work from home. She had, I guess what you could call a mini meltdown and came into my office screaming how could I do this to her? Her mother intervened, and that was met with me supposedly turning her whole family against her. But I digress, I probably would have felt bad if it wasn't immediately followed by the rest of her week acting as if she's been this active and attentive wife and mother the past few years. Sure, people can say she's making an attempt. But she's made many attempts, and historically we fall back to where we've been. For those curious, I am aiming for full or at least majority custody of our kids. I already and will continue to cover all the expenses for our kids, insurance, tuition. Both of our kids will be attending private schools come fall, medical bills, etc. My MIL has given me the courage and strength that helped supplement my own mother's support throughout this. Basically, she is what I hoped the kind of mother/wife my wife would have been to our kids and me. Out of respect for my MIL as well as per my own mother's shared wishes, I will continue to help oversee and contribute financial help if needed during her treatments. While some may feel I should cut their whole family off, I know the hardships pushed onto a family while dealing with cancer and have dealt with it firsthand as a family member and care provider on both sides of the desk. All in all, I'm prepared to go to war if needed, but I just want a clean no-fuss divorce. My wife has no alimony coming, so sorry for the Redditors and Mommy Gang Facebook groups saying she needs to divorce me first and get that sweet alimony money. 1. We live in a state that does not typically enforce alimony. 2. She has a means of gainful employment immediately. 3. To help curb any possible problems, I will cover her insurance and bills until either divorce is finalized or when she gains full employment. So that's that. I'm done and waiting for the steps to be taken for everything to be finalized. Sorry it wasn't as exciting of a story with plot twist as some may have hoped for, but that's life. Not sure I'll update this once it's all finalized, which probably won't be for a few more months depending if we go to war or not. Moving on to the next story, and it says, my M31 best friend, M33, is broke. I've been offering him a job in the restaurant I work for months, and today he confessed he doesn't want to be a server because it's low and people lose respect for him. I'm deeply offended. This happened just before. My friend is broke, he hasn't worked in over a year, he's running out of savings and has even had to ask his parents to support him. I asked him many times why doesn't he try to get a job that's not in his field. He's got a computer science degree but has never worked in the field a single day in his life since graduating. He's turned down lots of jobs because reasons. They don't pay him enough, they won't give him a higher up position right off the bat, etc. I'm well aware he's deluded in that sense, but he has many other good qualities and that's why I love the guy. So since graduating, the only jobs he's done is share marketing, something like online investing, in Forex. He said he made about $20 a day and that it was enough for him. He's single, lives in a shared house and doesn't spend much. Whatever makes him happy, right? The thing is he's totally broke. I don't think he really is making even $20 a day on the shares because he's run out of money. He's stressed out and won't stop complaining about money problems. This is confusing for me, and I think it comes down to his pride not allowing him to get a job that's not fit for his ego. Now, I work as server in a very nice restaurant and have offered him a job as a server many times. I have a great relationship with my boss, and after telling him my friend's situation, he didn't hesitate to say he wanted to help and would like to offer him a full-time job. My friend has been turning it down for months, not really giving much of an explanation. Today he called me saying his parents have cut him off and asked to borrow money from me. I said that as a personal rule I do not lend money to anyone, but that he was welcome to start working tomorrow with me. He again turned down the offer and I got a bit frustrated because I'm offering him a solution to his money problem but he won't accept it. So we got into a bit of a banter and he finally confessed he thinks being a server is low and doesn't get you people's respect. I told him respect is earned by getting off your ass and doing whatever you have to make ends meet. I asked him if he thinks I'm low and he backpedaled saying he didn't mean I in particular was low, but the job itself was. He then straight out told me nobody can respect me working as a waiter in my 30s. Wow. TBH, I'm pretty upset. He thinks I am low for working as a server? I got a degree too, but I couldn't find a job in my field, so I had to take the first job I could. I'm not some prissy prick thinking I'm too god to serve others. I take pride in being a waiter and doing a great job. I'm so hurt by his comments. Why is he my friend if he thinks I'm low? I didn't want to say something nasty or get into an argument with him, so I only told him he was being very offensive and I felt like he needed time to think about what he said to me. He replied saying there was nothing to think about, then gave me a list of low jobs like street sweeper, cleaner, etc., and said it's a fact those are low, not respected jobs. I asked him to apologize before this snowballed into a full-blown argument and he said he stood by what he said. I don't want to overreact, but I don't know if we can keep being friends after this. I really don't know what to do. I don't want to badmouth him, but he should examine his life and learn empathy. I'm a very easygoing and forgiving person, but what he said hurt me and was idiotic. The man who refuses to work calling me low. I don't know what to do. TLDR, friend is broke. I offered him a job in a restaurant but he turned it down saying is low and not a well-respected job. Top comments. Commenter, honestly, be happy he didn't took the job. Because with that attitude he wouldn't have lasted long and tarnished your rep with it. I don't want to overreact, but I don't know if we can keep being friends after this. Honestly, don't keep him as a friend. Doesn't seem that you get much out of the friendship anyway. Commenter, funny. Pompous ass is too good to work as a waiter but isn't above asking to borrow money from a waiter because he's too pathetic to go earn a living to take care of himself. It's easy. Take the job off the table because it's not appreciated or respected by him and it will only end bad for you and your generous boss. Don't lend your friend anything and let him figure out his problems on his own. Simple life lesson coming. Update, next day I made this post yesterday asking for advice on how to handle the situation with my friend. Basically he's very broke and his parent have cut him off. I've been offering him a job in the restaurant I work in for months and he always turned it down. His situation got so bad he came to me yesterday asking to borrow money. I don't let money to anyone as a rule, but I told him there'll always be a plate of food for him in my house and he was welcome to accept the job offer and start working with me the very next day. Well, long story short, we had a bit of an argument, if you can call it that, and he finally confessed he thinks being a server is low and won't earn him people's respect. In an interesting turn of events he called me today and said he'd thought it through and had decided he's willing to accept the job only with one condition, as if he was the one doing me the favor, that he's to be made manager right off the bat and that he should move in with me so that I can drive him to work because the bus from his house to my workplace takes 35 minutes and that's over an hour of commuting a day. He then suggested I move my youngest daughter into my elder daughter's room so that that's an empty bedroom for him in my house. So he obviously had given this some thought. I was dumbfounded. The sense of entitlement and the level of pride you gotta have to make those demands is astonishing. I know he's never had a proper job, but he's not stupid. He has to know you can't be made manager if you don't even know the names of their dishes or how to serve a coffee. It's all about his pride. He's got an ego bigger than I thought. He can't be humble enough to accept a waiter job and work things out from there. He needs to be made manager so that it won't hurt his pride as much. TBH, I was so out of words I said I don't want to talk and hanged up. I can't explain how off-putting that conversation was. I feel repelled by him. I feel disgusted, as if something has changed inside me. I can't have a person like him in my life. What makes a person refuse all help just out of sheer pride? My wife says I've been patient and kind enough to him throughout the years and I should let him figure things out on his own. He really is broke. Before his parents cut him off they were covering his rent/bills and he survived on the $20 a day he claimed to be making investing in Forex. I know he barely eats and can't even afford a new pair of shoes, and some other stuff. I know he's got no money, but then why won't he accept the job? He's not shy, has no mental health issues, has no problem dealing with people. He's refused many other jobs in the past. Even jobs related to his degree, computer science dash. He's got the wrong idea that he should be given higher up positions right from the start because he's him, and that's what he deserves. That's the reason he hasn't worked a single day since graduating like a decade ago. Anyway, I've got to do some deep thinking and reevaluate this friendship because I don't like the person he's becoming. His dad is a bus driver and his mother a retired teacher. They are lovely, humble, down-to-earth people. I think they've done the right thing cutting him off. I know they are both struggling financially, so it's not fair for their son to leech off them. His mother even had to go back to work doing some tutoring in order to make some extra money to be able to support my friend. I'd be so ashamed if I made my 70-year-old mother go back to work just so I could be sitting at home dreaming of landing the perfect job while actively doing nothing to get one. Anyway, I'm rambling. Sorry, I'm just so mad. My wife says it's time to cut the cord and distance ourselves from him. I think she might be right.